Modal difficulty in video games, something more of a controversial / grey area personally for me when it comes to difficulty settings and game design as a whole, and approaching it as a player is quite a daunting task. This in itself is not a video in which I will tell you why people still use modal difficulty, because personally for me, I don't understand why it's still a factor in this day and age, but I can understand how it works because these are systems that work within real life itself. And of course, when making rules and regulations within a game, within game mechanics and rules, it would make sense to use modal as compared to organic difficulty. Before we get into the short discussion, I just want to throw a disclaimer out to people. The video you're seeing right now is just me finishing XCOM 2. It's not the entirety of the final mission, but it is indeed the final mission, so do not look at the video if you do not want to be spoiled. It was actually due to my escapades in XCOM 2 and other previous games I've been playing throughout the year that have lacked any organic difficulty and resorted to modal difficulty that I decided to have this short discussion video. This is not me informing you about something. Actually, this is more of a discussion or topic. I would like to hear from you as to what you think modal difficulty is and why you think I'm dumb for even talking about it, and that, it might just be the best thing mankind ever made. But the whole point is this. Once upon a time, I believe a couple months back, I put up a video talking about difficulty in video games. I tried to look at it from a game design point of view, me being a student of such. I looked at the aspects of creating a game's systems or mechanics for a game, and then realizing how, in a sense, can we scale the difficulty, because not every player is the same. So we either need to train the player and give him sufficient tools to deal with the difficulty and try make it a bit more organic than he would think it is, or she. You can then use that approach, or you could just use a modal slide in the sense that we've decided what the game mechanics are. And now we can give you a choice. Do you want the experience that you're about to receive to be just casual, very easy going, no difficulty at all, you can just breeze through the game without a challenge, or you could want a slight challenge, or you could want to be tested? Now that's the premise of modal difficulty, and that's the beginning of our topic of discussion today. Now when I look at it, in the sense of modal difficulty, let me just explain it bit by bit how I understand it. You can chip in if you want to. Modal difficulty comes in the sense of, let's just pretend that we are a team, and as a team we've decided to design a certain game that we are to sell to the market. We are developers. We then have to design the system mechanics of the game. What is the game about? That one question isn't just about the story of the game or what the player will be doing in the game. What is this game about also has to consider the fact when the player picks up his controller device, whether it be a keyboard, whether it be a mouse, a joystick, a fight pad, a fight stick, whatever people use these days. There's so many controller devices, including phones and tablets. What is the player supposed to do? When he presses something, what is he supposed to achieve within that game? Now then, when you come up with that premise, what the game's about, you can then now build on further. Like I once gave an example once upon a time in the previous video, which I'll link, about organic and modal difficulty, the pros and cons of both. I was talking about if I were to make a game, a very simple game for example. It would be, for example, a sword fighting game. Whether it be 2D or 3D, to be honest with you, does not really matter. It was just to talk about my proof of concept. Now within the sword fighting game, there can only be two people playing against each other. Player 1 and player 2. They are both equipped with a sword, and let's just pretend within this particular game there is no shield. The only way you can not take damage is to either evade the opponent's attacks or to to attack him before he attacks you. Very simple, right? If he's about to swing his sword, swing yours first, you hit him before he hits you. So it's either you evade or you attack first. So the whole point would be attacking, evading, attacking, evading. And that would be the premise of the game. You are stuck within a confined area of flat ground, but within the center of the arena there is a mound or a hill or a high ground of some sort. Now if you look at the concept of fighting, especially when it came to prehistoric how can I say this, prehistoric martial arts, when it came to using blades and swords, even till this day and age when it comes to guns, people who have the high ground advantage, that's exactly why they call it an advantage. Being on the higher ground gives you much more perspective of the battleground. Of course, you have a clearer shot if it's a gun, and in the terms of sword fighting within this game, if you're on higher ground, it's very difficult for the opponent on the low ground to reach up to your vital organs when he's trying to strike. Usually the best strikes he can get, if he's really that low to you, is probably he can attack your legs or the blade that's above him. It's very difficult for him to get a strike on your shoulders or on your chest unless he's going to be using a pole arm or a very long weapon. You have to consider the types of weapon and how the opponent is using that weapon. But in this particular game, you are both using the same size sword, so that isn't a factor. That's been nullified in a sense. And also, whoever has the high ground has an easier reach to the low ground opponent's vital organs, because that's the closest. His chest, his head are closer to you than his legs. So it's really tough for the person on the low ground. So the whole point of the game is to control the arena's space, try evade and attack and push your opponent away from the high ground so that you may get on the high ground and dominate it and potentially try get a good strike to kill the opponent. Now then, people may, in the particular video that I had made before, I had talked about how you can turn this, the difficulty of such a game to be a bit more organic. I don't remember exactly what types of concepts that I had put in, maybe different stages varying in high ground. Maybe you could then talk about organic difficulty based on the sense of which player is playing who, because everyone's different. So there might be some people who have a greater understanding of the game than you. You could talk about then introducing different types of weapons into the game. So for example, there might be some people who want to use the pole arm and fight from the low ground as compared to the high ground. For some reason, you could vary the movement speed of player 1 and player 2. Maybe you can make player 1 a slower moving character but he has a longer reaching weapon. You could make player 2 a faster moving opponent but he has a smaller weapon, so even if he can dash to the high ground, his reach isn't so great, so he has to venture out sometimes. He can't camp or he can't tank. You could vary the life of both player 1 and player 2. You could make two separate classes, or not even two separate classes. You could make various amounts of classes, but then player 1 picks one certain class, player 2 picks another class. So in this particular sense of the game, it's not like they went to choose, okay, I want to play this game and I'm gonna put the difficulty on easy, I'm gonna put the difficulty on medium, I'm gonna put the difficulty on hard. That's not the case. In this particular sense of the game, the varying difficulty of the system depends on which playstyle suits you. So for example, in this arena based sword fighting game that I was talking about with the high ground in the center that I would potentially make, though that's not the case, if I feel that I'm not so good at evading, for example, as a player, my execution in evading people's attacks isn't so great, so let me get the guy with the pole arm and stay as far away as possible, which means I'm out of harm's way. There's no need for me to evade something that will never hit me. I can just stay at a range. If the guy manages to break the range of the pole arm, I can then try run away and then put him back at that space again. For example, that's the playstyle that would make the game easier for me. I haven't turned the slider down, but just a different equipment, a different class and a different mindset when approaching this one particular battle arena has already changed how I perceive the game's difficulty to be. And that would be a more organic way of making it easier, I would believe. Now, back to the topic at hand. Now when it came to a game like XCOM 2, this game gave me high blood pressure, this game gave me stress, and it was a long playthrough. I believe I finished my first playthrough, as you can see, after about 50 hours. The time spent, to be honest, is not a problem. I can appreciate, and this is genuine coming from me, XCOM 2 truly was a nice game. I enjoyed it fully. Even though the game had its problems, I still enjoyed the game. So the 50 hours wasn't really a problem. I willingly put in that much time into my first playthrough to enjoy it thoroughly. But then now, XCOM 2, just like the previous Enemy Within and Enemy Unknown and other XCOM games, it uses Modal Difficulty. In a sense, no matter the actual terminology doesn't matter. In essence, what it has is the easy, normal, hard, very hard, and then modified very hard, where you decide not to reload any saves, so whatever decisions you make are final. That's the Iron Man. But anyway, that's what it has: easy, medium, hard, very hard, and a modified version of very hard. Or you can modify any other difficulty by not reloading your saves yourselves. So I can have an easy mode Iron Man, a normal mode Iron Man, a hard mode Iron Man, or a very hard Iron Man. It's all your choice, but it's still a difficulty slider. Now, what confused me about this game's difficulty curves within the game, which really got my blood pressure high, was because of the fact that, okay, I start the campaign, welcome general, we need to do this, we need to do that. I won't spoil the story. We need to do this, we need to do that, general, to achieve the main goal of this game and hopefully end the game, right? The game presents to you a problem. You have to build to conquer that problem, and hopefully everything will be okay, just like every other game. And then it tells you, okay, to conquer this problem, these are the set of objectives that we need to achieve throughout the gameplay. And also, just so you know, the problem can get out of hand if you don't do these things at a certain speed or at a certain period of time. You are generally timed. You can't just sit and do nothing and fail missions forever and then turn it around and then go back and finish the game. The game can actually end. It can actually be a game over, and you'll have to restart again if you fail miserably or if you waste time. But anyway, that's it. So I decide, okay, it's my first time playing XCOM 2. Let me learn the systems, the new systems that they have in place, the new classes, the new weapons, the new development cycles, the new base management. Let me learn all of these things. So let me put the game on normal. Let me not, yeah, fine. My ego would have wanted me to put it on hard or very hard, be like, yo, I finished the game on very hard in my first playthrough. But I thought to myself, I might not actually enjoy the game because of the fact that it might just be too hard, considering the fact that I'm still actually trying to learn the game. I had never played XCOM 2 before it was released. Some people got the chance to do so. I didn't. I was on media blackout. I didn't see any gameplay footage. I didn't see nothing. I just knew that there were new things in the game. And that was that. So I put it on normal. I'm playing the game. Now when we went back to the definition of Modal Difficulty, is that we create a template. We create the mechanics of the game. So for example, if it were a side-scrolling 2D game, for example, in this game, all you have to do is defeat monsters with your stick. The monsters also use sticks, so it's a stick fighting game, for example. Now what happens is, when you have Modal Difficulty sliders, of course you can evade the monsters, maybe jump over their heads and run away until you get to the end of the stage. Let's just keep that as a concept of the game. Then you can now say, okay, if you put it on easy mode, the monsters remain the same. Or you could say that, for example, if there were 10 monsters in level 1, if you put it on easy mode, there are actually 5 monsters in level 1. If you put it on normal mode, there will be 7 monsters. If you put it on hard mode, then all 10 monsters will be there. Can you see? That's how I have made the difficulty of the game modal. I haven't changed the structure of the game. I haven't added or decreased or altered mechanics that were already in place. The game has been set. It's a stick fighting game. A young boy traversing a forest, beating up make-believe monsters with his stick. So I could make it easier, or I can make it harder just by increasing the number or decreasing the number of monsters. Also, if it were a game with a life bar mechanic, for example, the boy has 10 HP or 10 life points, you can say that on easy, when a monster hits you, it only takes 2 damage. On medium, if it hits you, maybe it takes 4 damage, and on hard, if it hits you, it takes 5 damage. So on the hardest difficulty, if a monster hits you twice, you're dead. On the easiest difficulty, when it only takes 2 HP, a monster has to hit you 5 times before you die. Now that's how we can vary out the modal difficulty if we're shying away from organic difficulty without doing extra work. Of course, I also talked about the fact that there are some very creative ways to make modal difficulty extremely good and extremely exciting. But in this day and age, people seem to be running away from some of the things I'm talking about. XCOM 2 is one of the exceptions. By increasing the difficulty, things do actually change. But I'll let you find that out for yourself. I'll let you find out for yourself. Only thing I can hint to you is that since they've got a procedurally generated system that creates stages, ... you fill in the blanks. But anyway, here we go. That's how I would make that game a little bit more modal. But in the sense of XCOM 2, the concept just doesn't. I don't understand this concept. Okay, I put the game on normal. I see, Commander, this is your first mission. You have to do this, 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 and that. Then I'm like, oh, that's quite cool. Let me check out information about the mission. The mission tells me that we suspect that a certain type of monster will be there, and the mission is located in this region of the world. And this mission is this mission will have a difficulty of moderate. I'm like, okay, maybe normal is moderate, so every mission in the game would be moderate, right? At least that's what I would think. You move on, you play the game. Commander, the enemy is now doing this and they've developed that, so we need to go stop them. This is the next mission that you need to do. Mission difficulty hard. I'm like, okay, so these missions are getting harder, and some missions were getting easier. Like, they'll actually tell you the difficulty of the mission. And this applies to all difficulty levels. So for example, if I chose easy mode, there'll be difficult easy mode missions, and there'll be easy mode missions, and moderate easy mode missions. That concept in itself just baffled me, because I can promise you there were some of the supposed very difficult or the highest difficulty missions within my playthrough on the normal difficulty that did not feel like I had selected the game on normal. It was no longer a normal playthrough. Now then you would ask yourself, if you put the game on very hard and then you encounter a mission that's very hard, that mission would really be mind-boggling. It would be extremely difficult. So I feel that XCOM 2's system of fair and fine, you can gradually increase the difficulty of a playthrough because you as a player are developing. That's the thing, you're developing new technologies, new weapons to conquer. But sometimes it can be a bit inconsistent because, for example, as I'm developing in XCOM 2, some of the missions are hard, but some of the missions are easy, but some of them are in between. I just believe that they shouldn't be up and down, some hard, some not, some hard, some not. It should just be a linear progression throughout the entire playthrough. It just gets harder and harder and harder and harder, but within the confines of the normal difficulty setting that you chose in the main menu. Because I believe some of those hard missions that I was playing on normal could even be classed as at least normal or hard missions in hard mode. So why didn't I just pick hard mode? I don't know. Maybe someone can explain to me the modal difficulty settings that they used in XCOM 2, but I feel that there's a lot of confusion and it's a gray area when it comes to putting different difficulties within a difficulty setting. I don't know, Street Fighter once did that too, I believe, with Street Fighter 4. I remember in arcade mode, you would have easy medium, then you'd have medium, then you'd have hard medium, then you'd have hard mode, very hard mode, ultra hard mode. You know what I mean? Different levels of hard mode. But at least when you got into ultra hard, there were no supposed easy ultra hard fights or ultra hard. It was just one difficulty setting for that playthrough. So it's a really confusing thing to me when it came to Modal Difficulty. I did a better job of explaining it in the video that I've linked. Maybe you can have the time to listen to that as well. Thanks for listening in, thanks for tuning in. I will see you, hopefully, if the game is actually good. I'll see you guys in April. Guys, girls, men, women, no offense to anyone, but definitely see you in April in Dark Souls 3. I'm not sure if I'll do anything before that. Maybe some Alex videos on Street Fighter 5. Not too sure. Thanks for listening in, and I'll see you soon.